Still haven't turned your mic on. Yeah, you got me. Beginning of the episode, and I'm choking. Tried to start an intro, and instead, I laugh. Welcome, everybody, to Into the Mist, our Dice and Jury after party. We are sitting up here on the balcony of Ravenloft. If you look right behind me, you could see the village of Barovia, maybe Valaki out in the distance, or you could if there weren't this mist in the way. Sprocket, how's it going?
Oh, it's a nice day out.
It's
Little
pretty
rain, overcast.
Yeah, it keeps the temperatures down.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are here. We are here to answer questions and to kind of discuss the latest episode of Dice and Jury from a player's point of view, and we'll get rolling on that. So the episode that just came out was season 2, episode 2. What was the title of this?
Why are you asking me questions, expecting me to be prepared to know the answer?
That's fair. That's fair.
Quoth the Raven. No.
Oh.
That was episode 3. This one was The Invitation.
Is that right?
That's what my phone says.
Yeah, that is what your phone says. I think these are misnumbered.
Wait, you can see my phone?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I can. Can indeed. I'm okay. So, like, the invitation was before that. What's before that? It's Mothership, right?
Yes, you're right.
And the invitation is labeled season 1, episode 2, which is wrong. Jeff.
Uh-oh.
Come on, man. All right, so this should be season 2, episode 2.
Okay, so listeners, you did not miss an episode.
Right. We'll discuss that with our crack producing engineer team.
Well, they had a sprocket counting moment.
Well, yeah, and that's totally fair because it's like this episode was like, actually both the episodes this season, I thought have been really, really well put together, and and just sound great. The story has been a lot of fun. I think all the characters have been on. And the sounds have been good. And so if the thing that happens is misnumbering, then I think we're doing okay.
We can work with that.
Yeah, but this is season 2, episode 2, Quoth the Raven. So a crap ton of plot happened in this episode. And I don't think any fighting. It's a little disappointing, but it was still good plot. Crethin tried to run away. You stopped him. Crethin kind of pouted and went full edgelord there. And then we went to Valaki, and Valaki was pouting. Like all of Valaki was pouting.
Town, yeah.
The whole town is pouting. No more happiness in Valaki. It's very, very pouty. And then we saved a monkey. We saved a book. We saved some glasses. And then we went and met some were-ravens.
Yeah, Sprocket finally got a magic item.
Yeah, and Crethin transformed into his wolf form and ate the ravens. And had a nice meal of it. And so this episode just went smashingly well.
I think I missed that part.
I sometimes doze off and just add my own flourishes. No, we finally find out the deal with the ravens, which we can talk about if we'd like. We do have quite a few questions to go through, though, and so my first one is actually for you. and this is from me, and I know, or I should say, I'm guessing that the most frustrating moment in season one is when you get your hands on Van Weer's book and just have the worst the worst role in the world, and after all that, you couldn't understand it. Did I lose you?
No, I was waiting for the question.
Oh, okay. That you've been with me long enough to know that my questions aren't actually questions. Um, but that moment actually carries over quite nicely, um, in in a recent episode where you remember when we were in Kresik and you remembered something you had read, but it didn't quite make sense, and it was like the most epic carryover of a bad roll ever.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
nice throwback from our GM.
right,
No,
and
thing is, looking back at it, I wouldn't want to succeed that role because it's added, a lot of fun character
oh yeah,
to Sprocket,
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
D&D is great with that. It's not about the constant successes; it's about the terrible failures at the worst possible times, and that's really what makes a campaign.
right, yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think actually, like Crethin continuously having to roll charisma rolls and doing so horribly badly is is one of my favorite parts. I don't want to do what he's good at over. I don't want to do dex rolls over and over and over again. You know, and this failure actually kind of brings around some very very cool plots and stories and workarounds, and some of my favorite moments all come from those kind of failed roles. But but anyways, we got the book back, right?
We did get the book,
So,
and I thought that was a brilliant throwback too, giving the sparrow to the monkey.
oh, that was great. Yeah, I'd forgotten that you had that, and I think Jeff had too. But that was yeah, that was excellent. That was very very cool. Um, I think both of us go, oh, that's good. When you did it, and that's always fun when you can surprise your teammate. I assume it is. I don't think I ever surprise you, but you keep pulling these tricks out of your pocket that I very much enjoy.
I do try to entertain, and yes, you do surprise me at times.
Was this the episode where I was like asking you a question and you said something about it's like I am wise and worldly or something like that?
Yep.
That would cracked me up. That was so funny. Um. So, anyways, I like this whole episode was like an hour 15 minutes of character and plot development. That was spectacular, and it I think it worked all the better that when Crethin was going more emo, you were getting more energetic and over the top. Um, and when you were going to pickpocket the letter from me because you were tired of me beating around the bush was epic. It was good stuff.
Yeah. Well, like I say, Sprocket is very. He has a keen understanding of the human mind.
Right. Um, we do have several questions. Should we jump on them, or did you have anything you wanted to add about this episode?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
it was fun to have an episode of character development. I
Yeah.
think it did have quite a few roles, but it
Yeah.
wasn't. You know, it was nice to just have no combat and just.
Yes. Yeah, and this was like this turned out to be I think one of the most this is one of my favorite episodes. And for an episode with no combat, it is not an episode where we sit around and just talk about things. A lot of plot happens. A lot of explanations happen, and a lot of character building happen. And so it was one of those episodes that was just really remarkably well balanced. As like, okay, we're not going to have a fight this episode, but we're going to have a lot of content in here. And but at the same time, Jeff did not rush us, um, and let us have an extended scenes as we were trying to leave Kresik, and that I thought were a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he needed a break.
He almost wandered off there for a while until I tried to start talking to Irina, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, that's me, isn't it? Let's."
Excuse me. Actually, was this the episode where he did have to go AFK at one point and we just kept going?
It may have been. I know that happened, but I can't remember exactly when.
I think it was right around here.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he'll know because he did the edits, but
Right. Well, uh, yeah, and I'm sure I'll have to ask him. Yeah, that'd be interesting because that does happen. If it hasn't happened yet, it's very very soon. But yeah, we just carried on like normal. We're totally okay with that. Um, should we jump into some of the questions?
let's do it.
All right. So these come from my friend Jason. I did show these to you, and these are actually great questions from somebody who actually listened to this episode very carefully. Which thank you, by the way, for that. Number one, if Crethin can't read, how was he able to write? So this is a great question. That's actually going to be, I think, next episode going to be more fully explained. Um, the short answer of that is Crethin does remember how to write. He remembers how to make letters. He just can't see what he's writing, and so we're gonna go into more detail on how that works in the next episode. So that's pretty much all I want to say about that, because that we do hammer away at that, and specifically we hammer away at it because after we recorded this episode, um, I I think we were chatting together, and basically was like, that doesn't make sense that he wrote those notes. We probably need to explain that more fully, and so we did. So, with all the curses that Crethin has, does the DM make you roll every once in a while to see if Crethin just loses his mind? I think this episode was kind of Crethin losing his mind, but no, the answer is no. There's, I hate to say this because Jeff's actually going to do it, but there are some things that I think Jeff could make Crethin roll that I think would be interesting. But all of the curses that Crethin all the curses that he has each do a specific thing. And so, like when the night hag visits him in a dream, that has a very specific effect in Dungeons and Dragons. When the moon is full, there will definitely be some rolling, but Crethin is able to keep it under control until that point. The curse of the Dark Ones, which is what's making him blind and appear to be undead. If somebody were to magically, try to figure out what he is, it doesn't look undead. But if somebody was like, "What kind of creature is Crethin?" it would pop up as undead. That doesn't have a roll to it. That's just a permanent condition. Now, some of the stuff that like I was playing with in the novel is that Crethin, ever since Velaki the first time, has been suffering from post traumatic stress. And in the novel, he actually has a flashback in the middle of a battle, and it incapacitates him for a moment until he can kind of get control of himself again. Um, there's he's he's also prone to drink more, which I don't know. Ken, I don't know if you knew that when you turned my source of alcohol into boots,
I
but
did not. I just thought the boots would be more useful.
they are more useful. But that is one of those things that I like the plan after. Actually the plan after Velaki is I was really thinking about, it's like, how would Crethin react to what has just, I mean, he has essentially died, by a vampire bite, which is kind of intense. And started looking into PTSD some, and doing a little bit of research as to how that might affect him. And one of the things I decided is that he'd probably um, be more prone to drink, um, and would struggle to kind of get control of that. And the game has controlled that for Crethin, because there ain't been a lick of alcohol around him ever since. I I think not until this episode he finally gets some wine, right? Is that
Did we
the
get wine in it?
I think the what do they call, is it Mardukov? Am I just making that name up in my head?
No, it sounds right.
Okay, I think they had wine with their meal. I know we asked about it at very least, so maybe they didn't. In any case, the short answer is no. There's no roles associated with those curses themselves. I would not be opposed if Jeff started imposing some like kind of like just in general psychological roles on Crethin, because he has had a bad day.
I think Jeff forgets a lot.
Why are you saying that? You know he's gonna watch this.
Well, he gets distracted by all the future curses he has planned.
I mean, he cuts this part out, but yeah, he's like looking through the DM's book. He's like, oh, that's a good curse. What would Crethin do to that?
Yeah, and he's homebrewing his own.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, but
In his book of world records, how many curses on a single D&D character?
yeah,
You can top that.
um I don't think this was actually in an episode, but at one point I mentioned, at least amongst us, that Crethin and Curses was like that episode of The Simpsons where they revealed that like all of Mr. Burns' diseases were like so crowding each other that none of them could actually act as diseases. And if you cured one of them, then the rest would just destroy his body, and so he had to keep all of his maladies in intact. And I was joking that would be that's Crethin with curses, is that they're all kind of canceling each other out and fighting over dominance and leaving him alone because of that. Is that the one where you fill a boot with alcohol and drink out of it? If there were that much alcohol in Barovia, I think everyone would do that, because it's kind of a crummy place. But it is remarkably hard to get a drink in in godforsaken country. Where are the other questions? Anything you wanted to say about that? Those were kind of Crethin directed questions.
Yeah, I think you did a good job covering it.
Okay. So this one is on Sprocket, and so this one's good because I was going to ask you about this one too. Um, is it significant that after seeing his own dead body, Sprocket calls Crethin a human instead of an elf like he usually does?
Wow, that is a good question.
Do you have an answer for our loyal listeners?
I can say that everything Sprocket does has purpose and significance, or it doesn't.
Yeah, I was as Crethin, I completely let that go. It was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Is this questions from podcast listeners or book readers? We would handle both. Um, but we are specifically talking about the latest episode of the podcast. We do have a few from Jen.
Sorry, my headphones cut out for a second there.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, just to go back with Sprocket,
That light is so
he
bright for my screen. I need to turn that down. Goodness.
well,
Sorry,
then
go
do
ahead.
it.
I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm just saying. Look. I
Now I've completely lost
turn
track of what I was going to say.
close the window. Open the window.
The window's closed.
Holy crap! That's really bright. Sorry, go ahead.
I've totally lost train of thought.
I did it. I'm gonna open
See,
open
this
up
is
the window
what you
halfway.
do.
I
You
do.
sprocketed me.
I. Oh man. All right.
Now, I think part
Oh.
of his charm, at least for me, and the fun in playing the character, is that you never really know if he's paying attention at all,
Yeah.
and it's not something I'm going to spoil because sometimes maybe he is, but that's for me, not for the listeners.
Yeah. I think that's a good approach. Yeah, that's uh I remember it was like right after Crethin died, and it's like I this is with and it's like a lot of times Crethin says stuff that I don't believe or anything, but Crethin kind of goes on a rant with Irina about Sprocket, not caring about stuff and not paying attention, and it's like I don't ever actually think that's true. I do think that most of what you do is for a reason. And then I think that a lot of what you do is not for a reason, just to keep us guessing. And, and I'm totally cool with that.
I think that's perfect.
So a few questions
And
from...
Sprocket does have moments of, compassion and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
just keen insight. Like when Crethin died, he came down, he had a meal for him, and
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that was a really cool scene. I actually, that whole segment I thought was really, really cool.
and even this episode, I think it was where, Sprocket was kind of screwing with Crethin just to keep his mind off everything.
Little buddy.
Yeah.
Question from Jen. How much advance warning did Kin get that Crethin would be sitting in a dark corner listening to Death Cab for getting the entire episode? How much warning did I give you on that? I think it was a fair amount.
Well, I don't understand the reference at all.
I don't know that band. I know the name. I don't. I think they're an emo band. Anyways, Crethin was being really emo in this episode.
What is going on with these headphones? All right, my headphones have jacked up again.
Are they on now? Hmm.
All right, keep talking. Vamp while I try and sort this out.
Okay. All right. So, the main thing about this episode is I mentioned in our last Into the Mist that we talked more about splitting the party than we've ever talked about anything in the game, and that was definitely on purpose. I didn't think I thought that would be something that Crethin would do, but I didn't want to do it if it was just going to destroy everything. And trying to keep in mind, first of all, this is a podcast. This is for entertainment, but also splitting the party does add some work to the DM. And so we as a group discussed that in kind of big detail. Um, Most of what and so we kind of knew how things would play out there. I that the whole speech that Crethin gives to Irina was actually written out, and it might be the only thing I've written out to read in character during the game. Um, but I kind of wanted it to go a certain way. I had I think an epic reference to the Smiths in there that will probably just pass over everybody's head. But that's the fun of random references, is that no one catches them. And I had a while back one of Midlake, which is they had a pretty big hit, but they're still a tiny band, and that no one the vast majority of people don't listen to. You should, but you don't. And that was for my entertainment only. So it's the same way. It was the same way with that one, but I completely wrote that out. I think I told Sprocket a bit of what I was planning there. I did not tell Jeff in advance on that one.
Yeah,
But
you did give me a bit of notice.
okay, on that part.
Yeah, and I'm back.
Oh, welcome. I figured that out. I hope everybody else did too. So I mentioned that we discussed the splitting of the party rather extensively, and then I had an idea of what we were going to do, what Kretha was going to do, and what I loved about that though is how well Sprocket just played into that, and I look, Sprocket. No one expected Sprocket to be just a great wingman, and he totally is. And so,
I don't think I did either.
and so that turned out to be the most epic scene. And I did not warn Jeff of what was going to happen, so I didn't know what Irina's response was going to be. And I think her response was also kind of epic, and completely in character, that she's just kind of been so absorbed into everything that's been going on, and the St. Markovia stuff, that she didn't even understand what I was saying. And to be fair, I was not being very clear. I thought all of that went just perfectly, and 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 yeah, I love the way all of that went, and that's been something that I had really been playing with, as far as Crethin's character goes, for a while, and and trying to figure out how he was reacting to this and that, and I kind of figured that at this moment he would be just almost grasping at straws for hope, and so that is what brought all of that about, and he really didn't get any from that. And, oh, poor Crethin.
Yeah, after all the talking and the build up, we got nowhere.
He wasn't even, it was like it was it was kind of that passive rejection of someone who didn't even know what was being said. It wasn't even like, Crethin is, yeah, no. but just like, oh yeah, no, things are gonna be great when we win. Now, bye. It's so good. Anyway, so the whole splitting the party thing. And tell me how much of like, when you caught up with Crethin, how much of that was like really thought through in advance?
Not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I figured I'd want to, and I did a bad job actually playing it out because I wanted to, you know, really amp up the being pissed at him thing,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that just didn't work because, well, it's not really Sprocket,
True.
and I think probably even just showing the irritation he did was coming from him is like, wow, okay, he's really upset because normally he's just so laid back.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, um, and any particular inspiration when we get back to Kresik and you are trying to push things forward as much as possible is I'm imagining Sprocket going, "Come on, we've got to go. We have to get over to Velaki. We're wasting daylight here. Come on." That was kind of a question.
Yeah, I was, you know, a delay in response actually shows intelligence. Now, Sprocket has always been, right from the Death House, kind of the one to move the action along.
Hmm.
You know, oh, all right, let's do this. Let's get going. And
Oh yeah, once Sprocket is pointed in a direction, he starts moving. It's great.
yep,
It's great. I'm surprised that hasn't killed us yet, honestly.
yeah, me too.
All right. Anything else we need to hit on? I kind of it's like um, emo. Okay, I was gonna say Krethin is leaving his emo phase. He's not really, but it's going to manifest itself more um, in a bit more focused way, which I don't know is necessarily healthy for him, but it's definitely healthy to get the plot going. So that's good. Anything else we need to hit on there? Are we going to go on to talking about the birds?
I think we can move on. Jeff had asked a question about backstories, but
Oh
I think we
yeah.
should hold off on that
Okay.
for a different episode.
Different episode completely.
Yeah, I think this one's gonna be pretty content heavy as it is.
Oh, we have been going for a while. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
try to get through the rest of these. All right. You appear to have mixed feelings on the birds. Please discuss. Um,
Oh, that would be you, Crethin.
all right. So all of this comes from in the town of Barovia. I I mentioned that we are going to head west and then circle back around to the east, and I was indicating to uh, Ismark that, or no, I said we are going to head west, but I was intending to go east, and I was indicating to Ismark that this is for any spies that are around. And the next thing Ismark does is he looks up to one of the ravens and he says, "The ravens are supposed to be good luck." And I, as the player, and also I, as Crethin, thought he meant like, watch out for ravens. They are those spies that you're worried about. And like when we were like I was sending Beargurn up to like take out any ravens that we saw on our path, that that he was going to be flying above us and just sniping ravens the entire path until like Jeff in game said, no, Ismark was serious. These are
Yeah,
good luck." And I
and
was like,
this had been going on for a long time, in and
yeah,
out of game.
yeah. And
And
so yeah, and
out
so
of
that,
game talking about it, I remember having conversation like, "No, dude, the Ravens are cool." I mean, he told us
yo, yeah,
that,
yeah, yes.
and you're like, "No, no, that's not right." No, this is the way it is. The Ravens are good guys.
Yeah, I was totally convinced that Ismark was telling us, beware of ravens. They are spies of Strahd. And they are not. They're not. And that I completely misinterpreted that whole scene. But that's kind of where the joke began. I just like ravens. Like the only mention in ravens in literature I can think of is the raven, and it's not really a good character in that poem, and it's so yeah, they've always struck me as like not good birds. Like, you know, in the scale of birds, like buzzards and like if birds had alignment, like buzzards and crow are clearly on the evil side, and like, you know, I don't hummingbirds are clearly chaotic good. Um, but ravens always struck me as more on the evil end of that, and so that threw me off for a while. So that's why I keep mentioning that. Um, but now I know. Now I know the ravens are definitely good, unless they're just tricking us, which is likely. Um, favorite episode to record so far, and the favorite episode to listen to.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. For me, the chase through Valaki.
Yeah, the chase was epic.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorites to listen to as well, because I did very dumb things with the music, where I spent 2 weeks like syncing that entire episode to music, the entire 2 part episode to music, and I'm still trying to make the album cut of that, and the album cut of that is 43 minutes long. Um, the version in the show is, I think, 58 minutes long of the music, and it's like I was done with that. And I'm like, I'm never doing this again. But it was really cool episode. Um, so cool. It had such good moments to it. And so that might be my favorite. My one of my favorite ones to record, and both times we recorded it, was the fight with the werewolves. I thought that was a blast.
Yeah,
Literally at times.
I really enjoy the combat system in 5th edition,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to play Sprocket because he's so versatile is just so much fun.
Yeah.
But and so I think playing wise, probably the combats are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm going back and listening, it's episodes like this latest one with the character development and the role playing that are the most entertaining to me.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's up there, but easily up there as one of my favorites. There's a lot of little stuff that happened that I just loved. The whole sequence at the coffin maker's place, um, trying to intimidate him, trying to get him um, to help us, trying to deal with those stupid vampires. I liked all of it. That was one of the episodes that most affected me, because we did not when Crethin died, we didn't know for a while what was going to happen, and by that time I was attached to the guy, and so when we were done with that, you know, Jeff had already told us that death does not always mean death in Barovia, but at the same time that whole thing it really affected me after the recording. So really love that one. I really enjoyed Death House because it was my first time playing 5th edition, and my first time playing in a long time, and I had a blast. It's not the episodes aren't very good, and Crethin is all over the place. He's not very well developed, but it was still a lot of fun.
Oh, one of my favorite lines came from the Death House. So I forgot my dagger.
Oh, that was so good. And I especially love the Death House because of that moment where Crethin kneels down in front of Rose and explains part of the story of Beargurn and the helmet that he has, and that was one of those moments where I was really figuring out who Crethin was, um, and his character was kind of filling out in my mind, and I love that scene, and I was I, I'm happy. I'm happy that episode's out there just for moments like that, and for where's my dagger, and kind of some of the other goofy stuff that happens is a lot of you shooting up the doorway over and over again. Word battle was so good.
Oh, just terrible rolls. That was
So
frustrating.
yeah. Um. So do we have anything else we need to hit? If we're gonna postpone Jeff's uh to another day, we can do that. Because that will take some time, and we've already been going for a bit. But I think that's all the questions I had. Did you have any?
Yeah, I do not.
Cool.
I saw the same questions you did, so
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So I guess a week and a half. Let me turn that down because it's so bright. Um, in a week and a half, we are going to be in Valaki, and I don't know exactly where how far the next episode will go in the story, but the whole Valaki sequence that's coming up is fun.
I do remember a fun part coming up.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is what you're going to expect from season two, which is a little a little darker, a little more tense, but having just some kind of explosive moments of fun and humor that I think
And
you're
quite
really
literally in some cases.
yes, as many cases as we can make things explode, we're going to. Yeah. Now every time Sprocket sees a carriage, he just comes and starts pulling things. It's like, oh, it's not trapped. But yeah, so that is that. So do check that out in a couple of weeks, and we will have this up on as well on YouTube for posterity's sake. And if you have not joined our Discord, please do. We're Dice and Dreary, and we are also on Patreon at patreon.com/Dice and Dreary. Yeah, Rave, appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
And thank y'all for hanging out with us, and we will catch y'all next time.
See ya.